This is Brenda Miller. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and I go live every week to share something fun that I'm working on or specials or things like that. So from Stampin' Up!, right? So anyway, today I'm here with a fun fold and to talk to you about a couple of things. One being my Zoom card classes and also about our cloud cover, new in color, and the issues surrounding that and the solutions. So let's go ahead and flip over to my desktop and let's get started. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to start off with just showing you a card that was made in my most recent Zoom class, which was at the end of last month. And this cute fun fold is the same one that we're going to do today, except we're going to just change the designer series paper. And I had a whole bunch of stuff already cut. So I said, well, why don't I use a lot of the same supplies? So we're going to use the same granny apple green color for our background, and we're going to make this card. And this sentiment on this card was from a stamp set that has since retired, and so we're going to use one of my favorite new stamp sets, and this is an online exclusive actually, and it's been out for a couple of months, but it's called Mixed Labels. And I wanted to show you how I mount my stamps. So you'll see that these are the dies that go with this stamp set. I didn't use these dies only because I already had some sentiment circles already pre-cut, but I do love these. And I do put them on this very thin magnetic sheet. I get these from Amazon, and I'm going to be putting together a list of fun things that I purchase that you might want to consider. And so that you can click on them and find them, but I don't have that ready quite yet. But that's how I store I like to put them on here because they fit right inside my box. Now, I learned the other day that some people don't know necessarily how to assemble their stamps, or maybe I have just an easier way that I think of assembling the stamps. So when you get them when they're the red rubber, they come like this, and you just pop it out, and it's already cut for you. So you peel off that backing, okay? So you've got now this very smooth, clear coating on top of the foam. And what I like to do is then I take my sheet of, these are the stickers, okay, and they go on the reverse side. Now, some people don't even put this on. I like to be able to see when I'm stamping. I don't know how people know where it is when they don't do this, but a lot of people don't. And what I do is I peel off that cover, okay? So now this is ultra sticky, and you see it's in reverse. And so I'm going to take my stamp that I just peeled the backing off of, and I'm just placing it right into that space, covering it up. And you'll notice that the way that the stamp is cut is the same as the way that the sticker is cut. So it makes it very easy. I just peel it off, and voila, I have a perfectly mounted stamp. So that's just a trick that I realized that I hadn't shown in quite some time, and some of my newer people didn't know how to do. Learned that at class, so I showed them how to do it, and now you know that too. So this is the stamp we're going to use today. I'm so glad we're friends, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it on my block, clear block, so to use later. Okay, so that was a couple of tips about stamp sets. All right, so let's put that aside for now, and let's get started on our card. So again, this is the original card that I made in class, in my Zoom class. Everybody got a kit that had two sets of had 3 different cards, 2 of each. So they came in a package like this. All right, so this was card number 2 last month, and all the supplies are in this clear envelope, and again for 2 cards each. Okay, so you'll see that this card is going to look a little bit different, but all the measurements, of course, are in the description for this video. But this gorgeous, gorgeous paper is called Florals in Bloom. It is 12 by 12. Okay, and it has all these beautiful flowers on the front, and then on the reverse side it has some coordinating different images that you can use. And this is what I decided to use for this because it's, number one, had some granny apple green. You can see that color is definitely in most of the papers. So I knew I wanted to use that because I already had it pre-cut, right, and pre-measured. So that is the designer series paper that we're using today. And I believe that is, I believe it's an online exclusive and not in the catalog. We've had so many things launched that I can't remember. So I'm actually using the reverse side. It kills me a little bit because I really do like this, but that would just make this card way too busy. And so I wanted to use this as my background, using something a little more subtle, something to provide a backdrop. So I'm just using my Stampin' Seal, and this piece is just cut to 4 by 5 1/4. Again, the measurements are all in the description, and you'll see that I'm putting it on the inside of this card, and I did not talk about this. So this card is cut, it is, let's just check down here, 6 1/2 by 5 1/2, okay, and then it's scored at the, let me just make sure on my mat, the 2 1/4 mark, okay? So it's scored there, and now it's going to fit perfectly into a standard envelope, okay? And then I took a strip of another beautiful paper from that paper package, and I'm going to flip it over and use the reverse side, and this uses some of that pretty like strawberry slush looking. It's like a muted strawberry slush, which is one of our new in colors. And this is cut to 2 by 5 1/4, and this goes right here. And so you can see that. Now, I did this wrong, okay? So, it happens. I did not mean to put this down. So don't do as I say in the end, not as I do as I'm doing it. Sorry about that. I got so excited about the paper, I had to glue it down. Fortunately, I was able to peel it up. Okay, so the other piece of granny apple green is actually, let's see, 3 1/2 by 3 1/4, so it's not quite square, and then it is scored at the 3/4 inch mark. And what I'm going to do is fold that down, and we're going to give that a good crease, okay, and then I'm going to put some adhesive right here. And I want to make sure it's a strong adhesive, so you could use your wet adhesive, which would be nice and strong, but I want to make sure that I can keep working as I'm going here. And I'm going to take that, open it back up, and I'm going to lay it right at the edge here. So you see why it was important that I peeled up that panel of designer series paper, because it did not belong there yet, okay? And that makes our fold, okay? And that's why we want to do that. But then we want to cover this up, hence adding our designer series paper. See, I make the mistake so you don't have to. Right? So, all right. I just get too carried away. So now we have what is that fun fold, okay? And so on the front portion here, we're going to take another piece of paper, and this is the paper I chose to be my focal point. It is busy enough to highlight the different colors that are in the background papers, and yet it's still very pretty, but not taking away from the sentiment. So this piece, let's see, is 2 1/2 by 3 inches. So again, not square. You could change the dimensions and get it to be square if that makes you happier, but I'm fine with it this way. And this fun fold, actually, I should mention that I learned it when I went to, on stage, I went to an event prior to the main event, and there were some demonstrators who had put together projects for us to do, and it was a really great time. Kim Allen was the demonstrator that pulled it all together, and one of her downline or friends, I'm not sure which, came up with this card, and I don't have it right here, but I should have pulled that out too so that you could see another card made with the same fun fold. So now we're going to make the closing element, okay? Well, before we do that, let's go ahead and put our inside in. So we want someplace to write. So I would want to write on the inside of the card, and I want to make sure that it gets covered. So this piece is 3 by 4 or 3 by 3 3/4, and again, it's listed. And I want to make sure I put it so that it's at that point, which is going to be covered when I close it. Okay, so that's where it's going to go. And I'm just going to put my stamp and seal there, and just making sure that I'm putting it between, I'm using this as my guide. Okay, so I know where it goes. And I'm just centering it there. Okay, so now that we have where we're going to write, and that's how it closes up. Okay, so let's go ahead and stamp. And now we're going to talk about cloud cover. So cloud cover is one of the 5 new in colors that Stampin' Up! Came out with for the 2025 to 2027 time period. And it is this light blue, this bluish gray. And what they found was that on the foam pads, which are what these larger pads are made of, the color was not stable. And usually they learn it way in advance if a color is going to turn, but this time they really did not learn that it was unstable until we were, they were getting ready for on stage. So that was right before the catalog launched. Now remember, these are developed years in advance, and to go that long and find that out was traumatic. And there's no way that they can, first of all, they don't know the solution for getting this fixed. They haven't come up with that yet. But by the time they fixed it, it would probably, and had it back out so that people could purchase it, it would be, close to 2027 and not worth it to them. So what they did is they made the pads that they already produced available just to demonstrators so that we could have it. And the thing is that some of the ink pads, the ink has turned, and some of them it hasn't. And when we say turned, it just is stamping a darker, or it's coming out too gray. Okay, and my ink pad is kind of gray compared to the color, and you'll see that when I stamp it. But what they have as a solution for this, and I'm going to be offering this, is that we have little ink spots. Now we have these empty ink spots, and you can purchase them for 5 of them for $10. They come in a pack, but what I'm going to do is break apart packs. And if you are interested in getting this color, you can purchase the Cloud Cover Re-Inker, which is stable in the bottle, they have found, and it's also stable on these are linen ink pads. And so they found that it hasn't turned when on linen ink pads, and it also hasn't turned colors when it's been in markers and other things. So they're going to keep going and selling these. It's just the large ink pad that won't be available. So what I'm going to do is offer if you purchase the Re-Inker, you can get an ink spot for $2, which is just the cost of the ink spot, but you don't have to buy all 5. And then you can just ink it up. And to ink it up, all you do, this is another little lesson, is you just take your little Re-Inker and you just squeeze it, and it comes out onto the ink pad, and you just want to do it until it soaks through, and then you have a beautiful ink. So let's just see what happens when we compare these, and let's see how off my stamp pad is. So I'm going to use my big stamp pad because to me, it being a little bit grayer for the way that I use it isn't such a big deal. That's just me. But for a lot of people, that's an issue. So I just ink this up, and we'll stamp it down. So look how gray that is, right? And so I'm going to just clean this off on some paper I have over here and come back, and let's ink it up with the newly inked Re-Inker. And you see that's how I usually end up doing it. I take the spot and I turn it upside down so that I can ink it up properly. And we're going to stamp that down, and let's see if we have a difference in color or not. So you can really see the difference here when you put them side by side. This definitely is a lot bluer, and that's the true color. And this is just very, very gray. And so I'm going to be using my ink spots when the color really matters. And I'm going to actually do it on this card. Might as well, because I've got it right here. So I'm going to now stamp this onto my circle. This is just punched out with a 1 3/4 inch punch. And so now we've got that there. And put that aside. And so we're going to put these two together. Now again, I probably, if I was working from scratch, I probably wouldn't have used Granny Apple Green necessarily on this card, but it still works. And you can see that this is going to be the closure. But to make the closure, first of all, we have these little extra strips too. And I just thought the person who designed this card had made them into little banners. And I thought, oh, isn't that great? Let me, I really like the way that that looks. So they're just 1/2 inch strips, and I'm going to put them together. And I'm just going to, what we call it flagging. I'm taking my scissors, I'm cutting a line in the middle of the edge, and then I'm going to cut from one corner to the center, and then I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing over here, making sure they stay aligned. And now the flags are equal. And I'm going to attach it to the back side, of the circle so that they look like this, but I'm going to make them a little smaller. So let me just trim them a little bit. Doesn't really matter because they're going to be behind there. And I don't want them to stick out so much. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little adhesive, just, you can see, on the right side. Oops, that was not done well. So I'm going to actually peel that off. A lot of mistakes today. Oh my goodness, it's not great. So I'm just peeling it off because I want to show you we don't want to have any excess adhesive because it's going to end up gluing us shut. So I peel that. Now I'm just going to put the line like so. Okay, so you can see I have a line of adhesive on that side, and I'm going to take my little banners and I'm going to line them up so that they are even, like so, and they cover up all of the adhesive that was on the back. Okay, so now you can see this is how this is going to go, and you can see why I picked to use cloud cover, because that is the same color as this flower. And now what I want to do is I'm going to put some dimensionals only over here. Now, because I know I don't want this to end up closing permanently, I am just going to position my circle where I want it to be, and then I'm going to grab some dimensionals and I'm going to lay them down on this paper. I'm just going to put 2 here just so it's nice and strong, so that they're popped up, makes it easy to open and close. And that way, when I place this down, you can see that it's going to then hold it closed and easily open. All right, so that is how we made this fun fold. Now you could go ahead and add some extra embellishments if you wanted to. You could switch out all your designer series paper, but this was just a quick way to reuse up or to use up some of my excess already pre-cut paper. So thank you, Connie. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. And it's just a fun card that you can use for pretty much anything. I'm so glad we're friends. So again, that is the summary of the issue that is happening with the cloud cover ink. So know that you cannot purchase it this way, but you can purchase it this way, and I will make it available for the $7.50 as opposed to having to buy all 5 of these. You just need to buy this, and then we'll give you one of these for $2, and you'll have a cloud cover ink pad. And let me tell you, when you have an ink spot and a re-inker, it's going to last a very, 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 very long time. So you don't have to worry about that. Again, we have the mixed labels stamp set, and I think that is all I had for today. So thank you so much for joining me. It was great to see you. And if you have any questions or concerns, just let me know. So, I did want to share I'm going to come back over here. I did want to share that I have my upcoming Zoom class. So I mentioned that this card was done in my Zoom class last month. So my Zoom class currently is $15 plus $4 shipping if it needs to be shipped. And you get 6 cards and envelopes, 2 each of 3 designs. And I just wanted to show you the designs for this month. So we have the Scent with Love, which has a fun border from the Fancy Borders, and also this lovely embossed image. So that's one of the cards. Here's another one using all 5 of the new in colors so that you could try them out and see them and know what you're using. And then, of course, this is my favorite. I haven't used it yet on one of these lives, and I have to do that. But I've been using this bundle a lot. And of course, I can't think of the name of it, but I wrote it down. Anyway, I'll let you know if you take the class. And then this gorgeous card, too, is the third one that we're going to do in the class. So if you're interested, please sign up for this class. Again, it's $15 for 6 cards, and the class will be held on May 27th at 7 p.m. However, we record it, and you get the recording, and you also get a PDF tutorial, so you don't even need to come to the class. Can I provide a link for the Zoom class that I can share with a few people? I certainly can. I will do that, and I'll put that in the bottom of, in the comments of the video. So thank you for that, Connie. I can do that. And anyway, thank you for joining me, and we will see you hopefully next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.